morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you are having an amazing morning. It is Friday after all, the beginning of the weekend, the beginning of our rest and relaxation. Good morning, Emma. Good morning, Adele. So glad that you guys are in the room this morning. Hey, hey. Thanks, girl. I tell you what, we are journeying from Resurrection Sunday to Pentecost, and it has been a pretty fast ride. Remember, we're only on for about 5 to 8 minutes every morning. Take a second and share. We talked about the encounters that Jesus had after resurrection. We talked about Mary and Peter, and we've talked about Nathaniel and Thomas and all of those. And we're talking now about following Jesus, him calling his disciples. And we know that there were many more than 12. We hear specifically about 12 that were called disciples that were doing life with Jesus, but we know that there were women there too. And we know that there was an extension of that discipleship. But we're not getting into that today. We want to talk about following Jesus, and we're looking specifically at Philip today. Good morning, Lula. How are you, dear? It's so good to have you in the room. So, we are specifically talking today about Philip. Philip his story was covered in John chapter 1. Let's go there for just a quick minute since we're moving fast. John chapter 1, and it starts at verse 43. And it says, the next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, follow me. Now, previous to this, the next day, Jesus, the day before, had called Peter and Matthew and James and John. And it says here that the next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, follow me. Let's look at that word follow me again. Those words, follow me, akaloteo in Greek, and it means to move behind someone in the same direction, come after, to follow, to accompany someone who takes the lead, accompany, to go along with. Now, Philip was from Bethsaida. It says that the next day, so here we go, Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Bethsaida was the town of fish, or the house of fish, or the house of hunting. So it kind of lets us know that Philip too was a fisherman 9 times out of 10. And so he would be leaving his livelihood, leaving everything that was sure, every place, the people, the town itself, the profession. He'd leave all of that to follow Jesus, to akaloteo, to put everything down, to follow behind the lead of someone. And we've also said that we don't believe that these men, that Jesus walked by and sprinkled fairy dust and said, follow me, and they fell under a trance. No, Jesus had been teaching prior to this. So they had heard some of his teachings. They had seen healings even. And so they were convinced this man must be the Son of God, and we will drop everything and follow him. We've seen Matthew, the tax collector, who was wealthy, leave his living and follow a Jesus who didn't have anything physical or tangible in this world. And we've asked the question, so I asked today, will we give up everything and follow him? It looks a little different to follow him today because we don't have to go from place to place and town to town, living, in God knows where to follow him. But will we drop everything? Will we make him our priority and follow him? Akoloteo, will we give up what we have for him? That's a question. Type in the comments, will you give up everything and follow him? Will you say, yes, Lord, I will rearrange my life for you? And so that's what Philip did. Philip dropped everything. And what I love about Philip is that immediately after he drops everything and says, I am going to follow Jesus, Philip found Nathanael and told him, we have found the one Moses wrote about in the law and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. He says, yes, I'm going to follow Jesus because I believe that he is the son of God. He's convinced me through his teachings, through the miracles, and by virtue of the fact that he came to me himself, he's convinced me of who he is. And now I'm going to tell everybody about him. And it did not stop right there. We know that later, after Jesus has died on the cross, been buried, and is resurrected, and he has seen him ascend into heaven, we know that Philip also evangelizes the Ethiopian eunuch. He comes to him and he says, I want to open the word of God more clearly to you. And he came up on the chariot. It says literally that he was running and he caught up with the chariot. A man running fast enough to catch up with the chariot came up into the Ethiopian eunuch's carriage and began to open the word of God more clearly to him. Philip became a true evangelist. He says, I want to show you Jesus. Not only will I follow him, not only will I leave my livelihood, not only will I rearrange my life, but I am going to teach others about him. Will you teach others about Jesus today? Will you rearrange your life, become a Christ follower, and tell others about who he is? Let's keep going from resurrection to Pentecost, looking at the encounters that changed the face of the church. I go on and go further to say they changed the face of the world. Will you be a part of changing the face of the world? So Philip followed Jesus, and he went and found Nathanael, and later the Ethiopian eunuch, and later he goes on to begin to start churches. Come on, y'all. Let's go. Let's go. Resurrection to Pentecost together, and let's get our lives in line with what Jesus has for us. Be blessed. Have a quick day, a good day. That was a quick moment, a quick morning meditation. I love you guys. Be blessed beyond measure.